The movement actually started about 146 years ago. The first wave, when a group of brave African-American women began to speak out about the slavery and the rape of black women by white men. They even testified before Congress about the sexual assaults that they endured as a result of the Memphis riots. They were perhaps the first women who publicly spoke out about their experiences with rape in this country. Now, as you can imagine, it didn't get very far. But there were some minute changes in the legislature because these women were willing to speak out in a time where women, particularly African-American women, were supposed to be silent. And then let's fast forward almost 100 years to the second wave of the anti-rape movement. But it happened because women started talking to women. Me. They began to share an experience that they had kept quiet for so long with each other. They said things like, "That wasn't sex that happened to me. I felt like I was being murdered." They said things like, "It was just pain, brutal, tearing pain. Like someone was breaking me down." And the combined voices of these victimized women together made a loud roar. It reminds me of a poem that I actually found when I was working through my own recovery process that explained kind of what I was going through as I was working through recovery. It was a poem written by a woman named Mari Evans. And the poem said, "If I had a gun, I would shoot. I put a bullet through my weary brain. I would relieve my soul of its responsibility to weep, and relieve my heart from its unbelievingness, and my hand of a wilted inadequacy, my mind of its desperate circling. Lord, if I had a gun, that would shoot." It was the pain and the agony these women started talking about to each other that started this second wave. And that talk began to go even deeper. They began to talk not just about rape and battery, but they began to talk about the liberation of women, period. They began to talk about sexism and racism and homophobia and classism and ageism and the other ism and all those isms, and began to recognize the interconnectedness of the isms and the violence in women's lives. One of the things that we don't do anymore is that kind of talking with each other. We figure we got it all. We got it written down in books what rape is. We've got it written down what the power. We've got all that written down, and we've gone to classes and we got degrees in it. And we don't sit down and really talk about what this actually means for us. Two things, though, began to really galvanize the movement. One was the rape of a woman in Berkeley, California, who was raped and killed. And then the second thing was the public speak out that was held in New York City for rape survivors. And both of those things happened in 1971. And all of a sudden things began to change. And I'm going to tell you why it changed in a minute, but let me just do the historical piece real quick. After that, rape crisis programs began to be formed. 1971, we know that the Bay Area program and the Washington, D.C. program organized and became a full-fledged program, and then 2 Bibles were written for our movement. The first one was written in 1973, and it was my Bible as I was doing this work, and it was How to Start a Rape Crisis Program. That was written by the Washington, D.C. program. Some of y'all probably don't know anything about it, but for those of us who were developing programs, it was our Bible. The second Bible was the book by Susan Brown Miller, Against Our Will. How many of y'all have actually read it?
Oh, yeah.
It was the Bible then. We all read it, like my grandmother would say, kibble to kibble. and reread it and discussed it, not when people just read excerpts from it. But it really was for us a definitive work about this issue. How many definitive works are you reading? How many are you writing? We need your voices again around the work. In 1974, the rape crisis program, first rape crisis program in Texas was opened in Austin, the Austin Rape Crisis Center. And I am very grateful to them. Because when I was raped in 1976, that's where I went. I was raped in Houston, but there was no place in Houston to go. But I was going to school at UT. And then in 1980, when INCASA had their second conference here in Austin, some of those people started talking to each other and said, you know what, we need to organize as a state. This Texas is too big. Texas is its own country. We need to do some more work. And so and they began to call out to other programs. And in 1982, they sent a call out. All of the programs come to Galveston for 2 days. 21 programs responded. 60 people were there. And they formalized the organization of the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. We sat for hours, literally, hours, talking and crying and cussing and fussing and really trying to go deeper, not just in what was happening outside, but what should have been happening inside of us. We tried to think about not just what they were doing to us, but what we were doing to ourselves. The blinders that we had on, the things we were not willing to look at and be honest about. All of those things were happening because women were talking. Oh, we're so busy fixing them. We've got curriculum development, and we've got therapeutic models, and we've got treatment strategies, and we're doing all those things, and our victims are not being allowed to talk.
That's right.
Sometimes they got to tell it 5, 6, 7 times. You need to shut up and listen. When I still do counseling with clients, and sometimes we don't get to anything for 5 or 6 sessions. They just want to talk. And who am I to say when you talk, let's move on? Because every time they talk, they learn more and I learn more. You need to stop silencing victims and let them talk. There's power when one is allowed to speak their truth.
That's right.
How many times have you heard, I didn't even know y'all were here? And don't you just want to just go slap somebody? What you mean? You don't know I was here. We've been here 30 years. We've been here 25 years. It's not their fault. Whose fault is it? It's our fault. They know what city council is. They know what the police department is. Why do they know where we are? 30 years? We need more truth. After 30 years, police officers are still looking for perfect victims. 30 years. And we still blaming the victim. And you know what? That's our fault. Because we haven't told the truth enough. We haven't got the information out there enough. We haven't educated enough about not blaming victims.
Yes.
Now, have we done some education? Yes. Okay, yeah, you've done a lot. Whoa, but you haven't done enough. After 30 years, we still don't serve all victims. If they haven't come to your agency, then you need to get your butt up and go find them.
Yep.
They're organizing. They're doing things. They have community groups that meet. Go to them.
Yes.
And say, I'm sorry we haven't been paying attention, but we're here now. How can we join you and deal with this issue? It is that primary prevention that's supposed to change the world.
Right. Amen.
It's about getting to the root of why we have rape still in this country in 2012. The civil rights movement made a lot of change, and we still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong. But have you heard about a lynching lately? Have you heard about a stoning lately? So why is it that we still hear about rape in 2012? Because we're not doing the primary work anymore. We've co-opted to just provide services. We're social service agencies and we're happy about it. And we're building bigger buildings, and we're doing, satellite offices, and nothing wrong with any of that, but you're not doing the primary work, and that is stopping rape. Ending all of the underpinnings of a rape-prone society to let rape continue year after year after year. When I started doing this work, I gave it 2 years. I said, I'll do this for 2 years, then I'll go back to law school. Because I figured, to be the truth, they'll change. I never go back to law school. Let me help you here. Because we haven't finished the work yet. And I need us to get pissed so we can finish the work. I talked about 2 of the ways. There was a 3rd wave that came along about the 80s when women of color began to organize because they had been left out of the 2nd wave. And so that 3rd wave was women of color organizing and beginning to do this work. But waves don't happen on your job. Waves don't happen in your agency. Waves is not part of the growth of a social service agency. Those of you who know me know where I'm going. Waves happen in movements. And I'm here to talk about the anti-rape movement, not your job. Because I don't need people to work a job. I need people to be part of a movement. That a job is a place that you pad your resume with. But a movement is long-term, long-haul, and about total change. There were many of us in the movement before. There were many coming afterwards, and there are many right now, but I need everybody to be part of this movement. When I was in 3rd grade, a teacher accused me of stealing some cookies. 2 cookies for a nickel was the price. Yeah, that's how old I am. Anyway, I put the cookies on my tray, put the napkin over my tray, and the woman said, the teacher said I stole it. So she went back and asked the cafeteria worker, did she steal it? She said, no, I think she paid for it. But anyway, she told me I stole it away, and she took me and she pounded me, let me pull my panties down, paddled me 50 pounds on my behind. And I went home to my mom. And my mama told me to go sit in some hot water, baby, and she rubbed me down. And when I got ready to go to school the next day, she was dressed and ready to go. And mama walked in that school, the principal saw, because my mama had a reputation, he was like, Miss Thomas, whatever it is, I got this. And she went to the room and she told Miss Leach, come in. And Miss Leach wouldn't come out the room. She said, okay, we'll do it here. My mama never laid a hand on her, but she laid the truth on her. And then she left there and went to the principal's office and laid the truth on him. She left there and went to the superintendent's office and laid the truth on him. And then she called her legislator and said, you need to meet with me because this would never happen to another child. That's anger. Yeah. Again, but it was about no child should ever be paddled that way. That's the kind of anger I need from you all today. Yes. See, one of the interesting things about the movement, one of the things I kept saying made the change happen, was that people, women, were pissed. They were angry. We don't get angry anymore. When the senator talked about the child who had been starved to death, we all said, oh. We feel sorry. We have some pity. But we don't get angry. And being sorry won't change a thing. A lot of folks were sorry after I was raped, but did nothing to help me. We can have pity, but pity don't bring change. Anger anger brings change. Righteous anger. And anger should have said, I'd be damned if this happens one more time.